Do you know which is the longest river in the world? Yes, it's the Nile River, a marvel of nature that stretches over 6,650 kilometers. This majestic river winds its way through the heart of northeastern Africa, primarily flowing through the lands of Egypt and Sudan. However, its reach extends far beyond these borders, with its drainage basin touching parts of Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and even the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Two main tributaries, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, are the life sources of this river. The White Nile, with its origins in Lake Victoria in Uganda, and the Blue Nile beginning its journey from Lake Tana in Ethiopia, converge near Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. From there, the mighty Nile continues its journey northward, rushing through Egypt before it finally meets the Mediterranean Sea. Now that we've established the grandeur of the Nile River, let's delve into its origins. The birth of the Nile is a tale of two tributaries, the White Nile and the Blue Nile. Now let's dive into this fascinating story. The White Nile, the longest of the two, springs from Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa. Lake Victoria straddles three countries, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. The White Nile embarks on a long journey, meandering through swamps, descending down rapids, and coursing through the heart of Africa, painting a swath of life across the continent. On the other hand, the Blue Nile, the shorter yet more voluminous tributary, is born from Lake Tana in the highlands of Ethiopia. It rushes down steep valleys and deep canyons, carrying with it rich silt from the Ethiopian highlands. This silt, once deposited along the riverbanks, transforms the otherwise arid landscape into fertile land, capable of sustaining life and civilization. Like two strands of a story, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, each with its own unique narrative, converge near Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. It's here that the two tributaries embrace, their waters mixing and mingling, giving rise to the Nile as we know it. From Khartoum, the Nile embarks on yet another journey, this time as a unified entity, snaking its way through the deserts of Egypt, and finally surrendering itself to the embrace of the Mediterranean Sea. The convergence of the White Nile and the Blue Nile is not just a geographical phenomenon but also a metaphorical one. It symbolizes the union of two distinct entities, each with its own unique character and contribution, coming together to create something greater than themselves. The White Nile, with its steady flow, represents constancy and resilience, while the Blue Nile, with its seasonal floods and fertile silt, stands for change and abundance. The union of these two tributaries gives birth to the world's longest river, the Nile, a river that nurtures life, shapes civilizations, and continues to write history, one ripple at a time. The Nile has not just been a river, it has been the lifeblood of civilizations. This statement rings true when we delve into the history of the Nile and its profound impact on civilization. The Nile's role in shaping societies both ancient and modern cannot be overstated. Throughout the millennia, the Nile, with its annual flooding, has faithfully brought life and sustenance to the parched lands of northeastern Africa. This cyclical flooding, almost like clockwork, has deposited nutrient-rich silt along the riverbanks, transforming them into fertile lands ripe for cultivation. This gift of the river, this black fertile mud, was called Kemet by the ancient Egyptians, which means the black land. And it was this gift that allowed civilizations to flourish. Agriculture, the backbone of these societies, was made possible by this annual flooding. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, grew wheat and flax, which not only provided food but also raw materials for clothes, ropes, and other essential items. This abundance led to the development of trade, the growth of cities, and the advancement of culture and art, setting the stage for one of the world's earliest and greatest civilizations. In the modern era, the Nile continues to play a pivotal role. It is still the primary source of water for domestic use and irrigation. The river's potential for hydroelectric power generation has also been harnessed, powering growth and development in the region. Yet the Nile's bounty is not without its challenges. The population boom and increased demand for water have strained this precious resource. The changing climate patterns and the construction of dams along the river have altered the river's flow and the timing of the floods, impacting agriculture and the lives of millions. Despite these challenges, the Nile remains a symbol of life and prosperity. Its waters continue to nourish the lands, its people, and their dreams. The Nile, with its fertile banks, has indeed been a cradle of life. The Nile River, while a source of life, has also been a subject of intense fascination and exploitation. Its majesty and mystery have both intrigued and ensnared explorers and civilizations for millennia. The allure of the Nile is not solely in its length or its life-giving properties, but also in its ability to both unite and divide. Historically, the Nile has been a grand stage for exploration and discovery. Its winding path and vast expanse have beckoned explorers from all over the world, each one eager to uncover its secrets. The quest to find the river's source was a pursuit that consumed many an adventurer, their stories becoming a part of the rich tapestry of the Nile's history. But with exploration came exploitation. The fertile banks of the Nile, the wealth of its waters, these were resources ripe for the taking. Nations have vied for control over these assets, leading to periods of conflict and tension. The river, a symbol of life, has also become a symbol of power and control. Yet, it has also been a conduit for cooperation, as nations realize the necessity of shared stewardship over this vital waterway. The Nile has been a catalyst for treaties and agreements, a point of convergence for diplomacy and negotiation. It has fostered cooperation among nations in a bid to ensure the equitable use of its resources. These negotiations have been centered around key issues such as water usage for agriculture, hydropower generation, and other purposes. The Nile's waters are not just a source of life but also a source of power. And managing this power equitably is a challenge that continues to resonate among the nations that the river traverses. The Nile River's story is one of duality, life and conflict, exploration and exploitation, cooperation and tension. It is a testament to the river's enduring impact on the civilizations it nourishes and the nations it connects. The Nile continues to be a hotbed of negotiations and discussions even today. The Nile of today holds both promise and challenges. As the world's longest river, it continues to be a lifeline for millions of people, a source of water, fertile soil for agriculture, and a means of transport. Yet it is also at the heart of complex discussions and negotiations about its use and management. Its waters are shared by 11 countries, each with their own needs and aspirations. From the highlands of Ethiopia to the low-lying plains of Egypt, the Nile's waters irrigate crops, power cities, and support industries. But with increasing demands from agriculture, growing cities, and rising populations, the river is under immense pressure. The Nile's water is not an infinite resource. It's a delicate balance to meet the needs of all while ensuring the river's health. For instance, water usage for agriculture is a major concern. The Nile's waters provide life to the arid lands of northeastern Africa, transforming them into green fields of wheat, corn, and cotton. But as populations grow and the demand for food increases, more and more water is being used, often unsustainably. And then there's the question of hydropower. The Blue Nile in Ethiopia is home to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, one of the largest in Africa. This dam promises to generate massive amounts of electricity, bringing light to millions of homes. But downstream in Egypt and Sudan, there are fears that this dam could drastically reduce their share of Nile's waters. These are just a few of the challenges facing the Nile today. Despite these issues, there's still hope. The countries of the Nile basin are in ongoing discussions to find a way to share the Nile's waters equitably, sustainably. It's a difficult task, but one that's crucial for the future of this mighty river and the people who depend on it. The Nile, while a marvel of nature, is also a testament to the intricate balance between man and nature. We've traveled from the origins of the Nile to its current state, taking in its role in shaping civilizations along the way. The Nile, a colossal stretch of water coursing over 4,000 miles, is the longest river in the world. Born from two main tributaries, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, it winds its way through northeastern Africa, breathing life into the lands it touches. This river has been more than just a geographical feature. It's been a lifeline for civilizations, ancient and modern, providing water, fertile land for agriculture, and a means of transportation. Its annual floods have nurtured the soil of Egypt, turning arid landscapes into lush farmlands. Today, the Nile continues to be a subject of fascination, exploration, and negotiation, its waters a source of both cooperation and conflict among the nations that share it. Remember, the Nile is more than just the world's longest river. It's a symbol of life, history, and a complex interplay of human needs and natural resources.